Welcome, bounty hunters and Star Wars fans alike. It is your favorite Star Wars show that we have every Monday night. All Fetts are off. It is I, Jason the Tuscan Toast, in beautiful Miami, Florida. And with me, as always, is my cousin, Brian the Charismatic Carillion in San Antonio, Texas. Brian, welcome to the big show. What's up, man?
Tuscan, how are we today?
Hey, man, we're good. We're a little sad, but we're good.
How were the rest of your holiday travels through the Outer Rim?
I made it back here, no problem. Like light speed skipped a little bit. It was a little dangerous, but I had my mask on, so I got here okay.
You did light speed skipping?
I did light speed skipping, yeah.
On a Carillion freighter? You're not supposed to light speed skip on a Carillion freighter.
Well, I did it. And,
didn't you pay attention to episode 9? They told you not to do this stuff.
Yeah, and now the plane is on fire. The whole thing was on fire.
Perfect. That's just great.
Yeah, I made it back, no problem. Took care of some stuff over the weekend and back to work today. But we have a little bit of sad news. I mean, I'm sure everyone already knows. David Prowse, the actor, bodybuilder, who portrayed Darth Vader in episodes 4, 5, and 6, passed away. And at the age of 85. So we're going to spend the first half of this show today kind of memorializing him and paying a small tribute to the man who brought Darth Vader to life. And even though there were many actors that portrayed Vader in his various forms, James Earl Jones as his voice, David Prowse as the body, and then Sebastian Shaw as, right? That's his name, right? Sebastian Shaw.
Yes.
As the original face.
Part of his face is actually in that
part of his face
set right there.
Yep, there it is, right there. You have a really good setup going on in memorial to him. But David Prowse was a very active member of the Star Wars cast as far as going to all these Comic Cons, and he even signed his signature as Darth Vader. And to a lot of fans, we all believed him to be Darth Vader. He is Darth Vader because he was the one walking and had the signature little pep in his step when he would move around and gave Darth Vader that menacing figure and on screen.
Yes.
So sad loss, and we're gonna talk about him a little bit and how he maintained his status as a figure in the Star Wars fan base, and a little bit of the rift between him and George Lucas.
There was a rift, yes.
But so sad. But we'll talk about him for now, and then in the last half of the show, we'll go in and we'll talk Mandalorian Chapter 13, because that was a big episode. We learned so much, and we saw so much action. It was the best, and this was Dave Filoni's only directorial episode for this season. And
would you believe that in the Star Wars fan circuit right now, Filoni's actually taking some heat for this episode? We'll get into that.
Is it what you posted earlier?
Yes.
So stupid, dude. Really, this is so dumb.
I don't know what to tell you, but he's taking heat for it.
By who? It's ridiculous. Seriously, it is really ridiculous to even bring this up. It's a non-issue.
There are those that make the same argument for The Last Jedi, that some are being nitpicky.
No, I'm not being nitpicky. I'm just saying
not that I don't know anyone
around.
that's being nitpicky.
No, I'm not nitpicking about that movie. Just the whole thing sucked all around. Plot, no nitpicking there. It just sucked. What you're talking about is nitpicking. But we'll get to that, and that's fine. But anyways, hey, how do you like my setup? Now I got a new setup in the background.
I like your setup. I like that a lot.
I got the PS5 and the Xbox One Series X.
Yeah, very nice.
Along with Pikachu and Space Pikachu, Baby Yoda up there.
Grogu.
Sorry, God. Stop. Don't even start. No.
Is it my fault that they went ahead and abandoned the child and gave him a name?
You had to.
You refer to him as Grogu.
No, you had to. I mean, it was inevitable that his name would come up.
Yes.
Yes. And then he even responds to it, like he goes, So that's his name. It's been his name for 50 years. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that in the last half of the show. But let's talk a little bit about David Prowse, member of the British Empire.
And as always, as we start, I want to go out and give a shout out to Brianna and her folks at Bad Customs for the things that they're doing. And again, if you guys haven't checked them out, be sure to do so. Also, we're going to have news on a growing sponsorship we got coming out. I was going to announce it this show, but I think I'm going to wait one more as we're going to get into the David Prowse stuff. But there's we are going to be carrying an additional sponsor as well, so that's definitely good for us and good for everyone all around. But definitely want to still be shouting out Bad Customs for the things and services they offer, and definitely check them out, especially if you're needing tumblers and keychains and keepsakes of a lot of kinds. Also, we were to announce the cup giveaway today as well. We set the 30th for the winner announcement, and again, the the shares are at a low mark. I think we should push that one more week.
It's fine. Let's push it one more week. I mean, we made the rules, and
yeah.
I mean, we'll stick to those rules. We can extend it.
Yep, we'll extend it one more. I want to extend it one more week, and that way we'll coincide those two announcements together in the next show.
Yeah, we won't stop the count. Every vote will count.
And our new and our sponsor to team up with the Bad Custom sponsorship. So yeah,
all right,
we'll do it that way. So yes, over the weekend, the Star Wars family did lose David Prowse. David Prowse was the man under the suit. Did not do the voiceover for Vader. We all know that James Earl Jones handled that. And that piece is actually a big source of contention between David Prowse and George Lucas as the movies went on. Basically, when David Prowse put the lines down, his thought process was that they were going to take his speaking of the lines and then kind of go in and enhance it with the
in post-production?
With the mechanical suit post-production.
Okay.
But then he goes and he sees the movie and he hears James Earl Jones.
Okay. So he didn't know
he didn't know until he went and saw it. So
all right.
That started the beginnings of sour grapes between both he and Lucas. But let's we'll go back even further though. Just as Lucas was formulating his cast for what was then Star Wars, it was not A New Hope. In 1977, it was just simply Star Wars. There was no A New Hope title attached to it.
Or episode. It wasn't even an episode, yeah.
Main reason being was that Lucas wasn't sure where this was going. He was already having enough time just trying to cover the budget.
Right.
He wasn't sure. There were weeks he wasn't sure if his production people were going to walk away with a paycheck. He was on his last bit of credit, his last bit of loans, just everything was just crazy.
Yeah.
So, but as he was casting the movie, he went through a whole lot of folks in auditions. I mean, Kurt Russell read for Han Solo.
Right. which a whole lot of people don't know. And it's super interesting that happened, yeah.
Yeah, Kurt Russell read for Han Solo, and it wasn't until kind of a last-minute thing that he went ahead and decided to go ahead and bring in Harrison Ford to read, who he remembered from American Graffiti, and just said, I got to have that face for Solo. That was his entire thing. So that's pretty much how that came across. But he knew for Darth Vader, he knew whoever he selected to be in that suit, it had to be somebody with an immediate grab of presence. It had to be somebody that was going to be dominant, someone ominous. So he knew he needed somebody tall.
6'6".
Originally, David Prowse had intended to look into playing Chewbacca. We all know who that went to, though. That eventually went to Peter Mayhew. But
Mm-hmm.
that's who Prowse originally thought he was going to try for, and then everyone started talking to George about, hey, you gotta look into this bodybuilder from uh, this British bodybuilder. You got to check him out.
Mm-hmm.
This guy'd be perfect. They were telling me he's huge.
Yeah.
So just George looks like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and give him a look. And sure enough, I mean, he sees him. He's like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, and he had this walk, and you notice it, and it's almost like he's so big that he's swinging his body around as he's moving, and it's definitely different than, of course, everyone else that's on screen because he's so massively tall.
That shot was key. Vader ends up arriving on the scene within minutes
mm-hmm.
of the opening shots. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Lucas filmed that opening sequence with the purpose of showing that the Empire was this dominant force
mm-hmm.
in the galaxy. And he felt if you're going to show dominance, you got to do it via intimidation. So, of course, you see the Star Destroyer flying overhead, and it's just massively larger than the Tantive 4, and it's just it's an intimidating. It's a very intimidating thing that you see just first thing. Then
and the music in the background.
The music in the background,
yes,
and then
it's very.
And epic. Then of course you got the rebels scurrying everywhere inside, getting ready for. You see that you're going to get a standoff pretty quick,
mm-hmm.
and that was approaching the point where he knew that he was going to have Vader enter on scene early, and he wanted to do it early, and he wanted to do it big, and he wanted to send a message that Vader was the dominant force that kept things in control for the Empire, along with Palpatine.
Right.
And people needed to see why. And when the stormtroopers bust through the door and initially settle that first wave of rebel resistance, and then Vader just walks out
mm-hmm.
slowly, confidently,
mm-hmm.
and just surveys the casualties underneath him,
and then walks over them
and just walks right over them and continues on. It's just
yeah.
I mean, just shows that, well, that's all part of it for him. Just no time for sympathies or anything. He had to find the captain of that ship because he was after Death Star plans.
Right. Oh, and you showed. You showed me your Death Star plans, the collectible. That was really cool. That was really neat.
Yeah, that was an exclusive to Order 66 toys. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
But I mean, what better guy to have in the suit to survey the bottom
mm-hmm.
of what he's looking at, to just to convey the sheer height
mm-hmm.
of the character. There was nobody better suited for it.
No. It was perfect, and anybody else, it would have been a little bit different. His walk would have been different. His presence, his movement would have been different.
And the fact that he was a bodybuilder puts him in position to. I mean, that suit was no joke.
Oh no, there's a lot to it. Yeah, there's a lot to that suit.
And many that cosplay in that suit will tell you it's hot, it's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need to be able to withstand that thing.
Now, do we know who portrayed Vader in Rogue One? Do we know? Is it anybody?
I do not know that.
All right, so I mean,
I'm sure it can be found.
Yeah, but you can tell the difference because of just the movements.
We know who portrayed Vader in Episode 2, Attack the Clones, though.
And
excuse me,
Episode 3,
Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. Yeah.
Well, it was Hayden Christensen, wasn't it?
Yep, they actually put him in the suit. He wanted to be in the suit. They put him in there.
Yeah, and they had. I mean, he's not as tall as David Prowse.
No, not anywhere close. But that's just stuff that movie magic took care of.
Yeah, he's not 6'6",
No,
by any
not by
means.
any not by any stretch. Nowhere near.
But there wasn't a whole
No.
lot. There wasn't a whole lot of Vader in that movie. It was just the end. You know, the no.
Uh,
And
no, that's not really true, sir.
and then that's it.
No,
And
no,
then
that's
and then he walked
no, no.
on. Okay, what
You're.
else?
I mean, it's because you're thinking of Vader just from the sense of the suit.
I am.
So Vader's first appearance in Revenge of the Sith is right after Emperor Palpatine tells him to rise.
Okay,
He's Darth Vader at that point.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's no longer Anakin Skywalker at that moment.
all right. So he's Darth Vader at that point. Okay, the suit Darth Vader. Excuse me, the robot Darth Vader.
Well, it's like Grogu. I mean, details. I don't know what to tell you.
It's still going to be Baby Yoda because Grogu doesn't sound
It's
as
not
fun.
going to be Baby Yoda.
It's
Baby
gonna be-
Yoda is now retired.
It's gonna be his nickname. It's gonna be his nickname.
Grogu.
His nickname. It's gonna be his
Grogu.
nickname. Baby Yoda. We can't argue this. This is really just non-negotiable. It's Baby Yoda.
Grogu.
But you know what's funny? Just to kind of I know we're jumping topics here, but when
Not
Ahsoka
here, not on this show. It never happens on this
it
show.
never happens ever. This is the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
When Ahsoka is mentioning that she's only seen one other species like this before, and she mentions Yoda. Wasn't there another one? Wasn't there Yaddle? That was
Yes.
the same thing. She's never met him. She didn't know of him, or they just completely
She
writing him out.
Well, it's a her. It's a female, and
Oh, excuse me.
it's distinctly possible that she didn't meet Yaddle.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Yeah, that could be it. Did she ever make it to the Jedi Temple?
No, she left the Order after Clone Wars season 5.
Oh, okay. So that's probably why she's
She
never been
walked
to
away.
the.
She walked away from it.
Yeah, she's never been to the Jedi Temple. Then she would have never have known Yaddle.
Well, I mean, she was in the temple, but I mean, she
Up in
was
the
not a member
council
of the
chambers.
council.
Okay.
She was not a member of the council.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, but anyways.
But I mean, my memories of the Darth Vader character are just, again, just that ominous presence he took, he brought to the screen. It's not just that opening sequence in Star Wars 1977, but I mean, you fast forward to The Empire Strikes Back when he walks into the base on Hoth with the snowtroopers. I mean, again, it's just 100% total dominance.
Because he doesn't even need to do anything. He just walks. He just walks. He doesn't have to do anything.
Just walks. Just walking, I mean, puts the fear of the Empire in you just from the steps he takes.
Yeah, and then you know what? I didn't even notice this until I was rewatching it the other day. In episode or the Empire Strikes Back in episode 5, Vader watches the Millennium Falcon take off again because he saw it. It escaped him in the Death Star in episode 4.
Yeah,
and then the same thing, the exact same thing happens. He's too late, and then it's gone. Han Solo's gone in the Millennium Falcon. He just can't.
But the difference being in that scene is just everyone in that theater is just waiting for him to snap on Piet.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Piet's just looking at him like, I don't know if I'm getting out of this one.
Yeah. So he gets promoted. Yeah. He was, what was his rank before?
Captain,
and then he got promoted to Admiral after he killed the other one.
Admiral Ozzel.
Admiral Ozzel, came out of Lightspeed too quickly. And then he force chokes him and kills him, and then he promotes him. Promotion by attrition, I guess, in Star Wars. That's just how it works. It's sad that we lost him, and we're kind of getting to the point of our lives where we're starting to lose these characters that we grew up with. Peter Mayhew passed away, Carrie Fisher passed away, David Prowse passed away, and what was his name? Kenneth Baker. Yeah,
Did R2D2.
Yeah, R2D2 passed away. So we don't have a whole lot of our original characters left, and This is
Just Billy D. Williams, Mark Hamill,
Harrison Ford.
Anthony Daniels, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, so we need to value these actors and everything that they have to give to this universe while we still can, because it's going to move on to the next generation.
Well, and the thing that's melancholy with David Prowse's story in Star Wars is just all he really wanted, and as much as he
or where you came from. But from now on, you do as I tell you. Okay?
I know what that means.
Yep.
Utah has joined us. Welcome.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, the thing that is just melancholy regarding his story is just that he, as much as he loved the fans and knew that he had adoring fans, he was aware of this, but he still really just wanted to have his efforts validated. That's really what he was seeking for a long time, was some kind of validation for the work he put in.
Mm-hmm.
And as time passed after The Empire Strikes Back, he was kind of, I mean, it was somewhat of a request, but he also hoped that George Lucas would allow him to be in the suit when Vader was unmasked.
Mm-hmm. Which wouldn't have been a bad idea.
It would not have bothered me, because you're going to use all that makeup anyway to show that Anakin Skywalker is irreparably damaged from the battle that took place at Mustafar.
Mm-hmm.
He's got all that scar tissue and all the issues with his face from having been scorched, burnt to a crisp.
Yeah.
So I really would not have seen but Lucas being so stubborn, and just the relationship where it was, he just told him, nope, I'm going to go with this guy, Sebastian Shaw. He's going to do it.
Yeah, and you know what's really funny about that? I mean, nothing against Sebastian Shaw, but when they do the scene at the end of Return of the Jedi, where it has him, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Yoda all in their Force ghosts, you look at Sebastian Shaw, and he's got this dad bod. I mean, he's got the total dad bod, like not like Jedi, like
right.
Mean, but he's got this dad bod, and if you would have kept David Prowse here, I mean, he has a more menacing face, and it's a little younger. But I mean, I understand that Darth Vader was older at this time, but still, I mean, you could have had that there, and you would have had this tall presence at the end as a Force ghost, and it would have been perfect, I think.
But that's the interesting thing. It's almost as if now, with the advent of the special editions and the Blu-rays, and how many times Lucas has gone in and touched these over, it's almost like there was a little bit of vindication to Prowse, as Sebastian Shaw was removed from that shot, and they went in and put Hayden Christensen in it.
Yeah, which didn't make much sense to me, but I mean, you couldn't have put David Prowse, because he was already a lot older when that was when those were being remastered and retouched.
Well, I mean, I think the whole idea was the fact that, I guess, Lucas's thought pattern is, I want to go with Anakin's Force Ghost at a time where he was at his most righteous, which was Hayden Christensen at the point before he turned, which is why he wanted to put Hayden in the ghost shot, I suppose. But I mean,
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. I just think I feel he had a missed opportunity with using David Prowse as he was then, as a younger man. And just look at that face. I mean, he does look like he would be an Anakin Skywalker. I mean, I don't know if it's the hair or anything, but I mean, he looks like he could have been Anakin Skywalker or Hayden Christensen at the time. To me,
I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to watch it, which I doubt, because I gotta tug your arm just to watch Clone Wars or Mandalorian. But anyway,
God, all right, what?
It's the truth. I mean, it's like pulling gorilla's teeth to get you to watch an episode on time.
I'm busy. I'm a very busy man. I know.
you're there playing video games with your Series X and your PS5.
Which I booted up once. I've only booted it up once.
Okay. But Netflix actually did a documentary on Prowse, and
Oh, I didn't know that.
this gets interesting. And the documentary was done from a filmmaker who was from Mexico, and he had a film group there, and they actually went in and reshot the sequence on the Death Star 2 with Luke and Vader.
Mm-hmm.
They went in and reshot it with Prowse and digitally cut him in. And they showed it to him.
Uh-huh.
And man, I mean that moment just like brought a tear to your eye. They actually they were so worried about legal ramification from Disney. They didn't show the finished product to us.
Oh, they just showed it to him.
Who was watching it, but they got Prowse in a room and sat him down. It was a theater room, and they played the sequence to him on the big screen, and the emotion you saw on Prowse's face was just it was riveting.
Oh yeah, and Disney is litigious, so yeah, it's probably good. It's probably a good thing.
I think a lot of folks know that.
Yeah, so it's probably a good thing that they didn't show it.
But I thought that was a very heartwarming thing to do. Just all things considering, it wasn't 100%, of course, of what Prowse had hoped for, but because he wanted everybody to see that. He wanted everyone to know that he was underneath. He was, in his mind, he was Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, for a lot of us, Darth Vader is who we heard, because the voice had to be every bit as intimidating as the suit. And James Jones, the inflection that he's able to put on pronunciation was just perfect for that. It obviously wasn't handled very delicately between Lucas and Prowse to explain that. I kind of feel that if Lucas had just sat him down and said, David, we need to have the voice be a reflection of you, and I need to come out and do that, and we've got this actor, James Earl Jones, who is able to put a menacing pronunciation into what Vader's speaking. And I think if he had maybe done it that way and just let him know prior, or as they were filming, I mean, Prowse might have accepted it better. That might have been something that he could have respected, but again, it just wasn't handled right. But I mean, regardless of that, regardless of the voice being someone else, David Prowse felt that he was the character. And everything he had signed at conventions and everywhere he went, whenever he signed an autograph for someone on a collectible or something else, the signature would read, David Prowse is Darth Vader every time he signed it.
Yep, and he's right.
That just showed it.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, he was Darth Vader. He is who we consider Darth Vader. And with his loss, is a sad end to that character, because we're not going to see it much more, and we have to remember that James Earl Jones, even as the voice, is getting older as well. So what I'm hoping that they do with him, and not saying that I expect him to be gone anytime soon, but is that they recorded a lot of dialogue from him to use hopefully in the future, to continue to honor the men that have played this character, this iconic character of Darth Vader that is known throughout the world and is constantly listed as the #1 villain in any list, for movies or novelizations or comics of that nature.
Don't hear any arguments from me on that.
Yeah, and
I don't care who. I'll say this right now on the show. I'll take on all challengers on this. Bring every bit of villain you want to the table. You can bring You can bring your Krugers, you can bring your Michael Myers, your Jasons, whatever. I don't care. You can you can bring Satan himself from the Devil's Advocate. I do not care.
Al
I tell you
Pacino.
right now. I tell you right now. Darth Vader, take every one of them to the cleaners.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And and this was actually really the first time in cinema that we see a villain, right, this menacing because of the mask, the helmet, the all
Right.
black,
Yeah.
the just the sheer size of David Prowse underneath it, and his powers and his ruthlessness and brutality that we really only truly get to completely see in Rogue One. It took a long time for us to see it. We hear so much about it, but we finally see the extent of Darth Vader's powers and brutality when he's killing all of those rebellion soldiers. But that would not have been possible had David Prowse not been able to portray this character and interpret the character of Darth Vader the way that he has and the way that he did and the way that he continued to advocate for him being Darth Vader, because that was him, man. That was you underneath the suit. If it wasn't for you, you would just be a voice. It would just be, a robot with an asthma problem. So that's all it would have been.
And thank goodness James Earl Jones was available for Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
Thank goodness, just because it just, man, it just. As much as I'm sure they could have done something to get very close, it just would not have been. It just would not have hit the mark without him.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that they have recorded just tons and tons of dialogue with him that they can hopefully use later on, and we can have this new content with the Darth Vader character as authentic as you can be for years and years and years and years to come, because there's gonna be a lot of kids out there that these characters, especially now that Disney is having their marketing power behind it, that will be seeing Darth Vader for the first time, and they want to see more and more and more and more and more. And there was just a long time between Return of the Jedi in 1983 up until the point where we actually hear him again in 2003. I mean, it was just a really long time. But then now we're seeing in Rebels and Rogue One, we're seeing the character, being portrayed again. So, but we spent some time talking and giving tribute to David Prowse. Rest in peace, friend. But let's kind of get to the lighter side of our show and talk a little bit about the chapter 13 of the Mandalorian,
13,
which is
the Jedi,
which was just big, and it was just named the Jedi, which I find very strange because Ahsoka does not consider herself a Jedi.
Well, and that leads to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
That leads to a lot of theories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the immediate thought is, if indeed Ahsoka is not the Jedi to which they're referring, then that kind of points that there will be another Jedi that comes to the scene.
Which would be Grogu.
So, not necessarily.
Could be. It could be.
No, because right now the Mandalorian's whole mission is to get Grogu, and we'll talk about Grogu in a minute. But the Mandalorian's entire mission is to get him to a Jedi. So he's already in this episode. He went to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's letting him know, I'm not going to be the one to train him. And she's being aloof about it. She's not really. She's telling him she has her worries of attachment as the reasoning not to train him. But I think deep down it goes to what you're saying. She left the order. Bottom line, she left the order, and in the episode she mentions how the Jedi are pretty much extinct. She touches on that, but also in the episode she advises the Mandalorian to take him to planet Tython.
Yeah, I couldn't quite understand what she was talking about.
The interesting thing about Tython is this comes into some storyline that is no longer really canon because it was in Knights of the Old Republic. But the Tython Temple was actually a temple that Darth Revan raided in Knights of the Old Republic. So now we have all this Darth Revan stuff that's going around now on the Star Wars fan circles. A lot of Revan talk happening.
Yeah, and
as soon as that was dropped, I mean, everyone's like Revan, 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 Revan.
Well, I kind of like what Filoni is doing here with he's kind of cherry picking what he is making canon, and I'm cool with that. I'm totally fine. I mean, you have all of this material, use it, because it wasn't done in vain and it wasn't done without some sort of thought like the sequel trilogies were. So you have just all these really good storylines and novelizations in video games, Rebels, Clone Wars. Use it, take it, and it's great. It's great because it's great for people who actually follow it and like, oh wow, I know what he's talking about.
We have a lot of current canon right now, though, to give us other Jedi options other than the child Grogu or Ahsoka. So as the episode continued and Ahsoka had her duel and face off, she asked where Grand Admiral Thrawn was.
Oh yeah,
that's a tremendous drop because now, I mean, I seriously doubt it'll be this season because I don't think they've probably even done a casting search for Thrawn yet. So we're definitely looking like at a season 3 thing for that. But at least we know that Thrawn is coming. However, now that we know that he's coming, we know that he's alive. If Thrawn is alive, then I think it goes without saying that Ezra Bridger is alive. So Ezra Bridger is a Jedi. It almost just stands to reason that Ezra is going to be the one that answers the signal or whatever happens when Grogu takes the seat on that chair at that temple that Ahsoka's talking about. It seems like Ezra Bridger is going to be the one to answer the call. It just him or one that's not as likely, I would say, because Ezra's not going to be hard to cast. You can have your pick of the litter. But if a lot of people are out there hoping and saying that Luke Skywalker is going to be the one to come find him, that gets a bit tougher to execute.
Yeah, they didn't really talk about it in any of the sequel trilogies, but yeah, I mean, I think that poses more questions than it gives answers. Having Luke Skywalker do it, and I think
you cannot execute it because you're not going to take Mark Hamill now and use him in his. You can't do that. You're going to have to try and do the whole digital thing they did in the Rise of Skywalker when he faced off against Leia shortly after Return of the Jedi. And I mean, really, has that technology been perfected to where? I mean, it did fine for using it on Rogue One with Grand Moff Tarkin and for that scene in Rise of Skywalker. Those are okay because you're not using it that long. But in this instance, you're talking about probably using it more than one shot and more than one show. And I don't know if that's feasible. Ezra is a bit more doable to execute. It's
right because
it's more manageable from an execution standpoint.
Yeah, because at this time, how many years is this after the fall of the Empire?
5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so Luke Skywalker
Luke would still be fairly young.
Very young.
Yeah, and
he's still kind of perfecting his powers and his abilities. Yep. So no, I don't think Luke Skywalker comes into this at all. I don't think you need to. I think you're good with using Ezra Bridger as a catalyst to Grogu's story or wherever he goes from here.
And for those that are listening, why do we keep mentioning Grogu? So if you haven't seen the episode yet, but we are Monday, so
if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry. You shouldn't be seeing our show if you haven't seen that last one.
The child has been named, so we can. I'm sorry out there in Baby Yoda land, but Baby Yoda is now retired.
No, it's not retired.
There is no the child. There is no Baby Yoda. It is the name is Grogu.
All right,
We
that's
have
fine.
discovered from when we've discovered from the show that the character has a name. Ahsoka revealed it. She was able to sort of fasten her thoughts to his, and they were through the powers of the Force reading their thoughts, and she discovered his name was Grogu. And she lets Din Djarin know that his name is Grogu.
Because he calls him kid, and then she goes,
Mo-
Grogu,
Grogu.
Grogu.
More on a more fascinating side of that, though, we not only find out his name, we find out a little bit of his backstory. We discover that he was amongst the Padawan younglings at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant,
Yep.
studying, and as she put it, studying under many masters, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets more tantalizing as she reveals that during the Purge, or Order 66 as we know it,
Mm-hmm.
he was removed from the temple into hiding.
Yeah.
And then his memories become dark.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That leaves us wondering, did a Jedi take him? Or being that his memories were dark, did something more sinister take him?
And that's where it's ambiguous, because just because you're saying that his memories are dark doesn't mean that they aren't there. Maybe he's just really pissed, you know. But
Well,
yeah,
and
he was saved. He was saying
he suppressed powers to survive.
right.
He was suppressing those abilities in order to, I guess, not be obvious.
Yeah, and he was spared from Anakin killing all the younglings. You know,
Mm-hmm.
which is still surprising to me that Lucas did this. It's kind of shocking because it's so dark. It takes such a dark turn for a Star Wars show, or movie. It's like, okay, yeah, I understand him going off and killing a bunch of people, this and that, but he kills kids, man. He kills kids, and I was like,
But there's
whoa.
no way to avoid. There's no way to avoid it.
No, there's
no way to avoid it.
Yeah, there isn't, but
It's not something that can be implied. You have to, at some point, cover it as it happened. This Order 66 was a mass execution.
Yeah, I'm still saying it's still pretty dark, you know, to show that scene. Helpless kid is asking for Anakin to tell them what to do, and then he just busts out the lightsaber.
At least they cut it off there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, still, it was a pretty dark turn. Yeah, so we know that Grogu was spared from that. How, we don't know. Hopefully we'll learn. I mean, we're going to have to eventually. We're just going to have to wait.
There was also another alliteration to Darth Revan besides the Temple on Tython.
What's that?
As the episode was going on, did you hear the reference, or not the reference, but did you hear Din Djarin talking to Ahsoka how there were HK-47 droids?
Yeah.
So Revan actually constructed what was HK-87s in Knights of the Old Republic. So it stands to reason that HK-47s were also likely developed by him as the first series.
Okay.
But,
I didn't know that.
This is all, again, it's like you say, he's cherry-picking canon because,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that Revan from Knights of the Old Republic would exist in The Mandalorian because those were events that took place almost a century before Episode 1. So, I mean, he's long gone by then. But, you know, Filoni's been, like you say, taking characters from other bits of canon that's been retired and putting them into his stuff anyway. One example is Thrawn.
Yeah, and that's great.
He took Thrawn out of the... Oh, I forget the name of the author. He took he took Thrawn out of the Timothy Zahn stuff.
Right.
And put him,
It was some novelizations that
yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn, and because I remember reading about him. I mean, this was a while back. Grand Admiral Thrawn has been a character for almost 20 something years, hasn't he? I mean, he's been a character in some form of the extended universe for a very long time. I remember reading about him. But that's great. I mean, that's fine because it gives some reward to, the fans that do consume all the media, or at least, a good portion of it, which is not me, unfortunately. But it's good for those callbacks. And
Yeah.
it's incredible. This goes to my beef of what Kathleen Kennedy said about how we had no source material like the Marvel Cinematic Universe did. We can't just go back and reference this. Like, yes, you did. You had almost 30 years worth of material that you could have cherry picked from, and people would have loved that. And you put your twist on it, make it a little bit better, make it yours, but you did have material and you just chose not to use it. So there's the hole in your argument, Kathleen.
Okay, so all right, so you want to bring up sources of contention? Let's go. So, not only I'm going to submit to you, not only did Kathleen Kennedy screw up some things, but it sure seems like Filoni and Favreau have their share.
Okay.
And it comes into this episode. So.
Oh man, but that's stupid. That's dumb. Anyways.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
man.
it? Okay, so let's discuss what Leku are. Okay. So right. Leku are those tentacle-looking things that are on not just Ahsoka's species, which Shakti is a member of, but they're also on the Twi'leks as well.
Right.
So here's the thing, though, with Shakti and Ahsoka, the Leku, and it's the same with Twi'leks, but they grow as the age of the character grows.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
Okay, so if you look at Ahsoka, when she's in the first season of Clone Wars, her Leku are quite short because she is started on. Well, there's a good shot of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up.
So, the one that's on the far left, when she only has one single saber. Those were her early days in Clone Wars when she was just starting as a Padawan. Then the second shot going towards the right is as Clone Wars continued. She got another saber, and she's progressing almost. She's pretty much getting to the point past Padawan at that point. She's very close to a knight, and her Leku are longer. Now the last one that you see there on the end right, our right, and that last one that you see is when she's in Rebels, and the Leku are quite long at that point. So fans right now are having an issue with what they saw in Chapter 13 because the Leku in Chapter 13 resemble that of Season 1 of Clone Wars, which would probably have her 10 years off in age. So it becomes an age issue. Just people were wondering if the age of Bo-Katan. We talked about that. We talked about that from chapter 12 and on our show. We were kind of wondering if the age of Bo-Katan, matched up. So there's fans right now complaining that you cannot have an Ahsoka that's in her mid-30s, with Leku that she had when she was in her teens.
I don't see a difference. I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't see a difference.
No, man.
So, in this picture that we're looking at, the Leku are at her waist.
Okay. Oh, I mean, but...
Are you serious? You don't see a difference?
Okay.
They're at her waistline.
Okay, so this is... You're talking about a difference of, like, maybe 5 inches. Right?
Those 5 inches translate in years of character.
Yeah, but this is really, really nitpicking, man. I mean, and again, this on the left.
So you don't want to have
the proportion. Okay,
accurate age
this
representation is
no,
nitpicking?
no, that has nothing to do with it.
That's
So
nitpicking?
no, no. This is
Age
nitpicking.
has nothing to do with the character. So we don't
No.
care how old she is.
No, because it's all made up anyways. So I'm telling you though, look, because of the computer generated stuff, and we all know how I feel about computer generated.
So
animation.
we can take Luke from Rise of Skywalker and just put him into A New Hope then.
Sure, if
Have
you
him
can,
gray with
sure,
a beard.
if you can explain
You know,
it,
because the age doesn't matter because it's all made up.
yeah, because he time traveled.
I mean,
I'm just saying you're getting upset to get upset. This is not that
It's
big
not
of a
just
deal.
getting upset. It's
Yo.
not just me. We're talking about fans all over the place getting upset.
Oh, who? You keep saying that, but like who?
Look at it's all over the chat forums everywhere. Where do you think I'm getting it from?
You got to send it to me because I have no idea where to look. Because right
What?
now, yeah, I have no idea where to look. Okay, you send those to me. I'll read them and I'll probably roll my eyes like I'm doing right now. But
I don't
Fine.
understand.
if these
What's-
are the,
what's-
come on,
what's
man,
difficult
we
about-
can't get hung up on stuff like this. Ahsoka Tano is live action in form, and she
I'm
looked
not saying
good.
that I enjoy that. I enjoyed that very much. Getting to see the character come to life on screen. That was
no,
great.
no!
I
It sounds like you're really, really disappointed. It sounds like you're really disappointed in her. What are these things called? What do you call them again?
Leku.
Leku. Okay, so yeah, you're making a big deal over her Leku because they're not long enough.
Where do you think the pictures are coming from?
I don't know, man.
They're coming from people who are making the comparisons that are getting upset.
Then you know what, man? If this is what gets you upset, if this is the only thing that ever gets you upset, I'm cool with that. If this is fine,
Look,
this is it.
it's just a fact. Okay, there's a large group of the hardcore fans that are having a difficult time with this because, again, it's a representation of the age of the character. If the Leku had nothing to do with her age,
Mm-hmm.
if it was a headdress and not a part of her, then okay. You know, you can make a bunch of different headdresses, fine. But it's not just a headdress. It's part of her biological evolution.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't know what to say about it. Except that I know that proportions are off with these computer generated things.
This is not about a computer generated proportion. When you're talking about the character, it is a biological DNA, a biological part of her DNA that grows with her, no less.
I'm really having an aneurysm over this argument.
I don't know why.
Because it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I mean, this is not. You cannot compare this, right, to the absolute garbage fire that The Last Jedi was. You just can't.
Everybody was the age they were supposed to be in Last Jedi, right?
I guess. I mean,
you guess or they? No, there's no guessing. Either they were or they weren't. Were they?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but it's all made up anyways.
Right now, I don't know if I have young Ahsoka or Ahsoka of age.
You can't tell if that's young Ahsoka or Ahsoka of age.
By the Leku, it says that she's Ahsoka from season 1 of Clone Wars.
Okay.
Which, that's a bit difficult to grasp because we're 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
So I'm looking at 3 versions of Ahsoka right now. 3 versions. Okay. The way that the blue streaks are in her tentacles or whatever, they don't look the same as they do here. Right? So at least that's consistent. Can we agree on that? Can we agree that her blue thingies are
Oh
fine?
no, I mean the stripes on the Leku change also with the evolution. So
sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we can agree on that. We're just mad because they're not long enough.
Lots of folks are mad. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you, Brian, and this is because I love you. I think you're gonna have to get over this one. I don't want you to lose.
I
I don't want you to lose
I
sleep over this. But I think you're gonna have to learn how to deal with this.
I mean, what it comes down to, I mean, the Filoni and Favreau actually addressed it because they had to, because
Did they?
it became
Okay.
necessary because of how many people were complaining.
I bet they're thinking the
So-
exact same thing I am. Like, oh God, the nerds are attacking us.
So they actually attempted the longer Leku, but because of the stunt shots, they couldn't do it. So
Wow.
that leads me to ask, I mean, it's Disney, it's these two guys, they came up with all this innovative technology. So there wasn't a way to digitally do it just for the stunt shots?
Apparently, there was not.
Wow, that's disappointing.
Is it?
But it is kind of, considering that you've got all this Disney magic to work with.
You know what, Brian? You need to
got
go
two other-
and you need to demand a refund for this month for your subscription to Disney Plus.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sure that'll go.
You need to go. You need to go full Karen and ask to speak for a manager. Go full Karen, man. I say do it.
Look, all that's being pointed out is that even Filoni and Favreau, the geniuses they are capable of screwing up. They screwed this one
That's
up.
not a screw up. It's a
screw up.
minor detail. It is
It's a
not.
screw up.
It is not a screw up.
It's a character screw up. I mean,
It
everything
is-
else is fine, but that.
It is. It is not. It
I mean-
really isn't.
You know, picture Da Vinci just finishing up the Mona Lisa,
Right.
and as he gets to the last few brushstrokes,
Mhm.
there's blots, and he
Mhm.
just leaves it, that way. That's what happened here.
Okay, there's a difference. Da Vinci was making masterpieces. This is a Star Wars show.
Star Wars is considered a masterpiece by a lot of people.
All
I'm
right.
one of them.
All right. Okay. All right. So, hey,
I mean, I'm sure
Filoni, Favreau.
I'm sure he views Ahsoka as his masterpiece character.
Gotcha. Filoni.
Why else would he have been the
let's
only one
send-
to insist that he directs her introduction?
Let's send this collective message out now. Filoni, get your stuff together, man. You're slipping. Yeah, you're slipping.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know-
not only did you bring an awesome character to life and make her look really good with some lightsabers and
Oh,
make
Jesus.
Baby Yoda really popular and
Listen
pretty
to
much
you.
save the entire franchise of Star Wars, but you're slipping, buddy. You're slipping.
Grogu.
Whatever, Baby Yoda.
Grogu.
Baby Yoda.
The character's name is Grogu. What do you want?
I want to call him Baby Yoda because it's not even real anyways. It's a puppet.
The name's Grogu.
It's the equivalent to Kermit the Frog, just less furry.
Question. It's
Answer.
equivalent to Kermit the Frog,
Yeah,
and you call him Kermit, right?
sometimes.
Okay, thanks. That's all I wanted to know.
But we've known his name forever. We didn't know this guy's name for the longest time.
But you do call him Kermit.
Yeah, Miss
Okay.
Piggy calls him Kermie.
At least it's a name. Like, you know, he's not.
Hi, Kermie.
Again, he's not Baby Frog.
There is a baby frog. There's a baby Kermit, and he has a name, and I don't know what it is, but we call him Baby Kermit. Same thing. I think his name is like Kyle or something. I don't know, some weird, just simple name, just like Steve or something. You know, like
Kyle?
yeah, it's like, hi, I'm Kermit the Frog, and this is my cousin Steve. You know.
Oh,
This is my brother, Al. All right, let's end this before it gets even more ridiculous.
yeah. Again, you know, Baby Yoda's retired. Just live with it. It's retired. Okay?
Sure,
Done.
fine, but not because you told me to. So all right, we had a pretty good show. We really went into chapter 13. I thought it was a great episode.
It was.
And we have a lot to look forward to. And
Lots
so,
to look forward to,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm hoping when we talk again next Monday that we have some more insight. I'm probably expecting another one of these filler episodes, maybe. But
Very likely.
if we get a little bit more info, that'd be great.
Although, no, I'm not so sure. I'm
No?
not so sure because the season finale is.
Oh,
let me check it out.
it's upon us, isn't it?
Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, it's going to be December 18th, I believe.
Oh wow, that's coming up. That's in about 2
So
weeks.
we've only got 3 more shows left.
Okay, so yeah, they're
So I don't think there's going to be much more filler anymore.
they got to start filling up some
you've
stuff.
You've got way too much to cover before you go into episode 3.
Okay.
I mean season 3.
Yeah, which we'll see sometime
You're
probably
gonna have to
at
start
the end of
to
next
wrap
year.
up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, because typically the episode before the finale has to be a big one because you need to tease it. So I would think that all these 3 episodes coming up are going to be huge.
Okay, well, I hope so. I mean, it's getting really, really good. They fed us a lot of information this last one, so
yeah,
we'll see what 14, 15, and 16 look like. So all right, so we're gonna forgo our traditional yub nub, and we're just gonna leave a tribute to David Prowse, and rest in peace, brother, and thank you for giving us Darth Vader the way that we know him today. So Brian, we'll talk next week.
Yep.
We'll have a little bit more. It'll be more lively. We did more of a tribute today, and it was definitely called for and appropriate. But I'll talk to you next week, man. You have a good week, and you be safe out there. All right.
You as well.
All right.
Thank
Hey,
you, David Prowse.
Thank you, David.